So I know the injury report came out. If you guys have any questions, you can ask me there. Other than that, we just got done with our red zone day, so I thought it was a good day. We were inside and get ready to go. Put a good work weekend with the guys. I thought they were flying around on their stuff, and now it's here. So go ahead and open up with questions.
It's been more than a month since Justin played a full game.
Yeah.
How do you kind of get the WD-40 out so that the rust is minimal on Sunday as much as possible in game action?
Yeah. Well, you try to do that in practice, and I thought, in particular for Justin, he was in a place this week where I thought he was playing fast, and that's some of the rust that you try to knock off. When you get to the game, it's always a little different when you start. But like most players, it's those first couple plays you get going, and then you're right back into your element. So he's been through this before, and as far as getting back out there and just kind of getting ready for practice and doing the different things, I think he's going to be more than fine.
Encouraged and optimistic coming out of Pittsburgh that could be sort of a springboard. How do you kind of recapture that when there has been such a long stretch?
I would love to. I think that he was really in a great place. Again, I go back to the moment on the sideline, and then when he followed through with that 2-minute drive where we went down and scored on the scramble. I think that was a signature moment for him, and it will be just for his confidence as he grows as a quarterback, and it was certainly for us too as a staff. And then every play, when you're dealing with young rookie quarterbacks, every play it's a new experience for him. So when he got injured, now he had a couple weeks off, and now he gets back at it. We're back to that every play, But he needs to help us with that by the week of practice, and then when you get out there, just cutting it loose. And I think that's what he's excited to do.
You've expressed so much trust and faith in Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
So for you to go into a game without him as your backup, I assume is not a decision you make lightly.
Right.
It's his non-throwing hand. He finished the game through it last week. What exactly is the issue?
Probably the biggest thing is just the pain and the swelling is the biggest thing. So we gotta make sure we just, again, all the communication between the trainers as to what's best in his scenario, and then I think also too when you look at it for Nick Foles, we go into this, and with the week we had, for Foles to be able to be a backup is a luxury for us in that situation. So Andy, we just go day by day, and there's the minimal swelling that goes down every day, but then there's also the pain, and I think for us we're in a position where we're able to do that if we need to.
Have you ever determined at what point in the game last week Andy got hurt, and was there any consideration going to Nick last week?
No, there wasn't. I do know when it happened on that interception that he threw to Cole at the end there. He went to tackle and hit his left hand on the foot. I think is the foot that he hit. I could tell.
Most of the game,
Yeah, yep. And I could tell a lot of times when he was coming to the sideline, it's like when you have I could tell that he was in pain, and but he gutted through it, and it was not affecting his game. It's just there, and guys play through some of those injuries, and that was one that he was able to do that.
Hicks loves to play against the Packers even when he's hurt. He's proven that. But the last time he kind of aggravated that groin injury and a sack. How do you know to trust, how do you know to not make too much of a risk there? He's willing himself onto the field.
No doubt about it. That comes down to, the communication and trust that you have between coaches and players, and that's an ongoing deal all the time with every player. So we know all of our guys, whenever they're able to go and they feel like they're not going to run into a situation where they're hurting the team because of how they are, that's what they'll do, and that's how Hakeem has been too.
Groin any part of the issue? I know it's been listed as an ankle the whole time, but is the groin?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
What have you come to appreciate about him? He's been here for so long, and he seems to take the Packers rivalry to heart. I mean, he was telling us earlier in the year that he might not have been ready for that first game, but he was going to get out there because he knew what it meant.
Right. Well, you get to a point, all these guys do, where every game is important, and then when you throw the Packers game into it, these guys they understand the magnitude of the rivalry, and so Hakeem has been somebody that you've seen over his career be able to do everything that he can to get out there and play, but these guys got to be smart too. I mean, we ran into that last week with Justin, right? You got to be smart with the level of where their injuries are at and where their pain's at.
What do you make of this current scheduling quirk here where you're in the stretch of like 4 games out of 5 where you're playing an opponent that's had more than a week to prepare for you?
Yeah. I mean, I did not notice that at the start. When you now get into it and you see, oh yeah, they're coming off a bye, and they are too, and but that's a part of it. It's no excuse. It is what it is, and I'm sure there's other times where we're catching somebody that has a disadvantage as well. So I mean, it is what it is, and that's just how it goes. Yeah.
Matt, Allen's earned praise for being one of the best 50-50 contested catch guys in the league. But an ESPN route chart came out earlier this week saying he's run more hitch routes than anybody else. And does that surprise you hearing that? And why do you think it's kind of shaken out that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I think I know the routes that he's shown us that he can run and does run, and I can't answer that. I do know this. I know that I would 100% agree with that 50-50 deal. When you throw the ball to him, he makes a lot of plays, and he's shown that in his entire career here with us. We have ultimate trust in him. He's done a lot of great things, and I'm not sure other than without looking at that.
Man, Foles has a history of being able to come in at a moment's notice, so I don't imagine that's a concern. But is that tough for him? I mean, he's been about as inactive as he's been in his career for this whole season. Has he gotten?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough for everybody, but I think the thing with these guys, whether it's Andy or Nick, what I notice is a lot of times when I'm standing there behind the huddle and then they break and they go up to the line of scrimmage, they run the play. When you watch our tape or our film, or I turn around and look, they're always back there, simulating the handoff or simulating the drop back, et cetera. The other part's your mentality. And both of those guys, all three of those quarterbacks are really in a good place mentally. I mean, when you've played a lot of snaps like Andy and Nick have played, and in the moments that they've come in certain situations, they're both different, Andy and Nick, how they've done it. But that gives you confidence as a coach that if you do need them to come in, you feel a lot of confidence for guys that have been a Super Bowl MVP.
Justin's always been very confident, but do you have to prepare him at all for a primetime trip to Lambeau, his first, and what that will be like?
No, we don't. He is very, very confident in a good way. It's not he's not cocky or arrogant or anything like that. He just believes in himself and he believes in his teammates. I just really believe that is something that is, that's your DNA. It's hard to coach that. You either have it or you don't. He has it. That's a huge luxury for him and for us. And now, again, until you can first experience, my first time truly experiencing it was our first game in 2018. And it just, you realize what it feels like to be in that building and the history there between that rivalry. And we obviously want to be better. So I know Justin's excited to be able to have that opportunity to try to change that.
And I don't know if you've ruled Tariq out for this season, but it just seems like at this point in time, it seems fairly unlikely, right?
Well, again, that's trying to make decisions here. I know we're 4 or 5 weeks away, but to the end of the regular season. But he's been having some good days. I think he's definitely getting better, and that's great for him to be able to have that. Again, I think he's in a really good place, and to put a timeline on or rule him out and say no, he won't. But I just appreciate who he is and how he goes about trying to rehab and get back. I know it's been a while, but he cares and he's trying to get back as soon as he can.
You're still holding out some hope that.
Yeah, I think that it might be minimal. It might be minimal, but at the same point in time, I don't think it's fair to say it's not going to happen.
When you reflect back on the decision in Week 5 to name Justin the full-time starter going forward, independent of Andy's health, how would you sort of characterize what the biggest factors were in shifting the pendulum at that point?
Well, I think that Justin earned that. He earned it, number one. And when you start showing us at that point what we think is growth for you within the offense and at that position, it's only fair to give him that opportunity moving forward. And Andy understands that too. So it's for us, it allows you to be clear with that. And again, but it was earned from him. So when he plays the way he was playing and does the things he does, it's not always perfect, and there's things he's growing with, but it's just I think it makes it simple for him to understand that and for all of us to be able to put that plan together.
Push and pull role was there when you were making that decision in those couple days there, in terms of just you and your coaching staff getting together and having conversations and trying to sort that out?
No, we all, I think everyone understands, with Justin being a rookie quarterback and coming in and doing what he did with those games before he got hurt, I think it's pretty normal. It was pretty easy. Now, you start dealing with the injury, and you want to make sure that's where you want to make sure that he's healthy and safe and all that for him to be able to help us. And it was very simple. It wasn't hard between the coaches. It wasn't hard between the players. They understand it. As long as you do it the right way, you communicate it, then you move forward.
He sized up this week with everything that's stacked against him, the injury, the heavily favored opponent, trying to keep pace with a future Hall of Fame quarterback, and he said he loved being the underdog. He got excited about that. You are similarly, you individually, backed into a corner kind of this week. How do you feel about coaching in this game?
Well, for me, I go right to these guys that we're in there with every day, and I know how they feel about going out on that football field and playing for each other and playing for us, and that's what's important to me. And you could have an individual, you could make it personal. I don't, either way. You could say backed into a corner. I don't. This is like, you know that for me, I just believe in making sure that we all just focus on the moment right now. And if you worry about the future or what could happen or anything like that, it takes away. And so I feel very confident with these guys, and I just believe in them. I believe in this team. I believe in our coaches, and now we get an opportunity to play a great team. And I just think if you just keep it that way, you're okay.
I know that, medical information is personal to a degree, but we get asked this every day. Have you ever been able to confirm or dispute that whether or not Tariq needed a second procedure, if there was anything unusual about his injury that has created this long rehabilitation process?
Again, for me, I'm involved in all of that, but without getting into extreme details or talking through Tariq's situation, I just know what I hear and what our doctors and trainers and with Tariq, that whole process. But as far as like the actual complete details of this or that, I'm not, I don't think it's fair for me, number one, to get involved in that too heavily, and number two, publicly as either.
Have you ever experienced with a player it taking this long, even from an ACL?
Everyone's a little bit different. I think that Tariq, again, when I'm there every day, Hub, and I see Tariq grinding the way he grinds, and all the work he's putting in that training room and doing everything he possibly can to get back, for me, I have not seen, I can't, every situation is different, but for me, I don't even go there because I just think I know what I see. He's trying to get back as soon as he can, and that's all he can do. And we love Tariq to death, man. He's awesome, and he's great in our room, and he's been a hell of a player. So when they tell us that he's ready to go, we'll be ready to go with him.